Members of council, if you can please take your seats. Members of council, please take your seats. I will now call this meeting to order. Would you please stand for the national anthem? Standing for a moment of silence and personal reflection. Thank you. We acknowledge that we are meeting today on the traditional territories of the Mississaugas of New Credit First Nation, the Haudenosaunee, the Huron-Wendat, and home to many diverse Indigenous peoples. For the benefit of those who are connected to the internet, the City Clerk has posted all of the agenda materials for today's meeting at toronto.ca/council. This special meeting of council has been scheduled for the following purposes: to fill the vacancy in the office of Councillor Ward 44 Scarborough East by considering and appointing candidates to the office in accordance with the procedures adopted by City Council at its meeting on May 24th, 25th, and 26th, 2017 meeting, and to introduce and enact bylaws for the special meeting. Members of Council, this is a special meeting separate from the regular meeting that starts next week. Under Council's procedures, no other business items such as notices and motions may be introduced. This rule cannot be waived. Are there any declarations of interest? Are there any petitions at this time? We will now review and confirm the order paper. Once the order paper has been approved by Council, any change will need a 2/3 vote. Council will recess for lunch between 12:30 and 2 p.m. and will recess between 6 and 6:30 p.m. All those in favor of adopting the order paper, recorded vote.
The motion carries unanimously, 32 in favor.
Thank you. Members, I will now ask the City Clerk to explain the process for today's meeting.
Madam Speaker and members, Council has adopted procedures for this meeting. These procedures were distributed with the agenda as part of the report on the Ward 44 vacancy. Each of the candidates who has completed a consent of nominee and a declaration of qualification and provided personal identification that I'm deemed satisfactory may address City Council for 5 minutes. The speaking order will be determined by lot. I will place the names of all candidates on equal sizes of paper in a container and randomly draw the names. After each candidate has spoken, each member of council can ask the candidate one question. Members of council can speak if they wish once all candidates have spoken and all questions have been heard. After members of council have spoken, council will vote by ballot. I will review the balloting process with you at the appropriate time. Upon conclusion of the balloting, I will declare to be appointed the candidate receiving the votes of more than 1/2 of the number of the members of council present and voting, or the candidate selected by lot in the event that 2 remaining candidates are tied. At the end of today's meeting, City Council will enact a bylaw to confirm the appointment of the successful candidate to the office for Ward 44, Scarborough East, for the remainder of the term of the present council. Members, my report, item CC 30.1, lists the persons who have submitted nominations for Councillor Ward 44, Scarborough East. The following person has subsequently withdrawn their name from consideration: Lorelei Derrera.
Councillor Ford, you have a procedure motion on this matter. As the motion is lengthy, I will ask the city clerk to display it on the screen. Oh, sorry, just one moment, okay?
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Speaker, members of council. I'd like to move that the following persons who have signified in writing that they are legally qualified to hold the office of councillor and consented to accept the office if they are appointed to fill the vacancy of councillor for Ward 44, Scarborough East, shall be considered for appointment to fill such vacancy, and the following names presented.
Thank you. All those in favor, recorded vote.
Councillor Kuo, when you're seated, please.
The motion carries unanimously, 35 in favor.
Councillor Cressy, can you please? Thank you. Members, the city clerk will now draw the names of the candidates to determine a speaking order.
The first speaker will be Sudha Datta.
The city clerk staff will distribute...
No, I have to read all of these.
Oh, you have to do all 48, okay.
Dino Leonardo Lombardi. Kami Ganeshathasan. Nareen Dobe. Michael Cole. Peter Sialtsis. Mohammed Shabani, Virginia Jones, Walayat Khan, Alan Burke, Kirk Cormier, Mukayo Mark Balak, Jasper Gorey, William Sheehan, David Soknacki, Tom DeLuca, David Mitchelson, Norman Bradley, Kevin Clark, Robert McDermott, Mohammed Siddiqui, John Porter, Mujid Khan, Daniel Cubelis, Curtis Smith, Chris Gothel, Jim Hart, Corneliu Chizu, Dominique Cubelis, Axel Cocon, Molly Brown, James Borland, Warwick Russell, Samim Mohammed, Roger Francis, George Jacobs, Suthan Thulakan Nathan, Kevin Kipping, Kazi Hawk, Vito Greto, Cheryl Lewis Tharab, Kiruthika Theaparan, Tatiana Kuzminik, Mohammed Mirza, Bobby S. Singh, I. Tohan Patience Evagbaru, Pencho Penev. Those are all of the candidates, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. So, John. So, members, the city clerk staff would distribute copies of the speaking order shortly, so you'll get a copy of it. And the speaking order will also be available on the city's website at toronto.ca/council. Members, we will now proceed with the appointment for Ward 44 Scarborough East. Madam Clerk, would you please read out the name of the first candidate?
Sudha Datta.
So you say a third, if you're present, step
Yeah.
forward to the microphone.
If you can please come forward to the microphone.
Is that all right? Okay, here's number one.
Honorable
So you-
Madam Speaker.
Yeah, you have 5 minutes, okay, and the timer is on both sides.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Honorable Madam Speaker and the councillors. Good mornings. My name is Sudha Datta. I am a candidate for Ward 44, councillor's position. I have been a resident of Scarborough for over 30 years and have extensive knowledge of Ward 44. My wife worked as a faculty member at Centennial College, and I owned and operated an accounting and business advisory firm in GTA. We raised our 2 sons in Scarborough who are now adults and living independently. I'm indebted to Scarborough and GTA, and I think it's time for me to pay back with my time, talent, and experience. Until last year, I was working for an international financial institution as head of operations and traveled all over the world on business, negotiated several deals with vendors, and thus gained an international outlook with local focus. I'm a chartered accountant, certified public accountant, and a chartered banker. Currently, I am an independent consultant advising asset managers, family investment offices, pension and endowment funds. I believe in service leadership. In my opinion, it's not a job, an opportunity to serve my fellow residents of Scarborough and GTA. City requires fresh faces, innovative ideas, and that I can bring on the table. Ward 44 requires a strong voice in the City Council, and I am the right person for that. I am not a political person, but I want to address city issues, particularly Ward 44 issues, keeping in mind 4 guiding principles: prudent innovation, disciplined execution, effective collaboration, and cost-effective solution to the problems, and give the best to our clients who are the residents of Scarborough and GTA. I shall take this opportunity to highlight a couple of issues of Ward 44 and my position on those issues. Transit system. Transit system requires close attention. Most of the residents in Scarborough are immigrants and from low and medium income group. Smooth and easy accessible transit system is a must for sustainable development of the city. I have been closely following the issues discussed at the City Council over the past years. I strongly support new Scarborough Transit Plan, but immediately we need TTC more bus routes in Ward 44. We cannot delay this decision any longer. It's very crucial. We have to act fast and start the project immediately. We have to keep in mind we are using public money and every penny makes sense. I have extensive experience in making strategic planning and implementing those plans in a cost-effective manner. Safety and security. Like many of you, my dream is to have my city known as the safest city in the world. And therefore, we have to devise innovative and cost-effective ideas and involve various community groups together with our police force to keep our city free from any kind of crime. I believe police force can do better job in involving community organization, neighborhood watch groups to maintain peace and safety for all of us. Housing. Ward 44 is a single family community, and we have to maintain the feature. I strongly believe that implementing tighter licensing for rooming houses and proper inspection to safeguard the residents who are living in those dwellings and their neighbors. Taxes. I'm against any kind of tax increase in the city and believe in cost savings, more business-like approach in running each and every service. I have worked in a financial institution managing resources and controlling budgets for over 15 years. I think our city can work to achieve value for money for every dollar we spend and can adopt more business-like approach to deliver service to our clients who are the residents of GTA. Ward 44, the eastern waterfront of GTA, where development is almost zero. We have to vitalize and utilize our great waterfront in the world. Highland Creek Park treatment plant requires immediate and update in the technology. We cannot ignore this situation any longer. This is emitting the greenhouse gases almost 38 tons every day. The Scarborough residents are suffering. I have time, talent, and experience to serve the residents of Scarborough and GTA. Thank you very much.
Can you please walk? Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pardon? Oh, sorry. Councillor Fletcher, one question?
Yes, I'm just wondering if you would plan to run in the next election. If
I
you
don't
were-
know yet, ma'am.
You don't know yet?
Too early to say, but I'm not a political person. I'm a technocrat. I worked all 15, 20 years, either in my independent business or in the financial institutions. And I think it's time for me now to give back to the society because my children are adult. I have enough
Yes,
time
yes,
to give back.
I hear. It's just about the next, it's the 18 election. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk?
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Dino Leonardo Lombardi.
Okay, sir, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, City Councilors, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today about my desire to fill the vacant council seat for Ward 44 Scarborough East. My name is Dino Lombardi, and I'm a longtime resident of both the City of Toronto and Scarborough. Let me start by acknowledging that there's been some criticism about the process we're involved in today, that of filling the vacant Ward 44 council seat held by the late Councillor Ron Moser by nomination. While I believe that the best way to represent constituents is through a democratic process that involves the populace casting ballots and electing an individual to represent them, this nomination is, in my opinion, an acceptable compromise given the existing circumstances. That is, being near the end of a political term and the inherent costs of holding a by-election at this juncture. With that in mind, however, let's not make this a popularity contest, but rather a fair, open, and transparent process that chooses the most exceptional candidate available. The reason I preface my comments with this fact is, if you believe the various media reports over the past week and conversations that I've had with councillors that took the time to call me back ahead of this morning's special meeting to discuss my candidacy, one would assume that there are only 2 or 3 candidates that have any real chance of being appointed to fill this seat. This is a troubling and unacceptable reality, given that there are 48 potentially qualified applicants who have put their names forward and should be given due process. So let me reiterate, I'm hoping that this process will ultimately be nonpartisan, as well as not become simply a popularity contest, with those candidates having the most recognized names and aligning with certain common political viewpoints being the only ones given legitimacy. I respectfully ask that all of you maintain an open mind until you've heard every candidate today speak passionately at this podium about why they want to and should be the councillor for Ward 44 Scarborough East. At this point, I'm not going to spend the remaining time I have to highlight my background and experiences. I hope that all councillors have had a chance to review my qualifications as part of the supplemental information attached as a copy to my application. Instead, I want to quickly address the so-called elephant in the room items. By that I mean those three main questions that many of you raised when I spoke to you ahead of this meeting. First, while I don't live in the ward, one of the reasons I submitted my nomination papers was that I had the opportunity to speak to a number of Ward 44 residents that I know and who suggested that I consider putting my name forward for consideration for this position. Given the fact that 13 current city councillors also don't live in the wards they represent, I don't think that this is a fact that should be used to disqualify me. Let me assure you that I'm familiar with the issues that are impacting Ward 44 because they are the same issues that are impacting and affecting many other neighborhoods in Scarborough and Toronto. Although, of course, there are specific concerns unique to Ward 44 residents. Second, let me express my position on the Scarborough subway. I was asked my position on the subway over and over during my conversations with councillors. Why I was repeatedly asked this question is quite baffling to me. I thought that this issue was one and done, so to speak, and that City Council is moving on with eventually building the subway along the McCowan Road alignment. While I know it will ultimately have to come back to Council for various technical and design reasons, the subway extension is, in my mind, approved, so let's get on with it. Would I have supported building the one-stop subway as presented at any cost? The answer is no, because we need evidence-based decision-making, and I still question whether it is going to be the best use of substantial municipal resources. Also, spending municipal resources without having the full cost breakdown on any city building project is, in my personal opinion, a slippery slope and must be balanced with anticipated benefits, not just for Scarborough, but also for the rest of the city. However, would I have supported a subway extension to Scarborough Town Centre within reasonable spending limits if it also included the proposed and fully funded 17-stop RT Crosstown extension to UTSC and possibly Malvern, which was the compromise proposal presented by the mayor in January of 2016? Absolutely. In my humble opinion, the RT Crosstown extension is the more important higher order transit initiative because it starts to address the real connectivity issues absent in Scarborough as a whole, connecting 5 undeserved priority neighborhoods, including Ward 44. I'm passionate about completing this network, which also should include the Scarborough East line, so much so that I've approached Scarborough MPPs to start a petition to initiate funding from the provincial and federal governments and have a verbal commitment to see this through from my local MPP. And third, I will not be running for the Ward 44 council seat in the 2018 election. My main concern for putting my name forward in this process...
Can you please wrap it up? Your 5 minutes.
Okay. Basically, my reason for putting my name forward are simple and straightforward. I want the residents of Ward 44 East to be represented by for the remainder of this political term of City Council by someone who can voice their concerns. They should be represented by someone who has integrity, skills, knowledge, and experience to contribute to the lives of those who live in the ward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? Okay, thank you very much, sir.
The next candidate is Kami Ganeshathan.
Okay, is that Cami coming down? Okay, Madam Clerk? Yeah, maybe if you can do the next 2 or 3 so they can come down. Yeah.
Can't we distribute the list? Oh, we're distributing the list. Okay.
Oh, they're all going to get a copy of the list. Okay, thank you. Okay, so if we can do the next one, Madam Clerk?
The fourth speaker is Nareen Dubé. So we should...
Okay, you have 5 minutes, and the timers are at both sides of the council chambers above you. Thank you.
Good morning, Council. I'll keep it brief. What makes a great city? It's the people. I would like to join Council in shaping the city for the constituents of Ward 44, my family, and the people of this city also. My name is Naren Dubé, and I am applying to represent Ward 44. I was raised in Scarborough, attended school in Ward 44, and still live in Scarborough with ties to the community. My not living in the ward gives me an unbiased view and allows me to be more objective. My goal is to help the people of Ward 44 improve their way of life. I have been running a small business for 10 years now and understand how to come up with positive solutions when problems arise. My belief is that we can come up with solid strategies on issues like gridlock, increasing transit service for Scarborough, improving the fund guide and registration program for the parks and recs, just to name a few things. I hope to have a positive impact on the community and council by bringing a fresh perspective to ongoing issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Councillor Shan, one question?
Do you understand for this? Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is related to a scenario that actually happened a few weeks ago at Highland Creek Festival, a heritage festival. There was a car on display that had Confederate flags as part of the car, and there was no formal apology from the festival organizers in an official format. And I requested the information about what happened and so on. They have said they have referred it to the new councillor who would be appointed. So my question to you is, how would you deal with the situation if you were there, or if it was brought to your attention after the event that there was a person obviously offended by seeing it, disturbed by seeing it, and raises it with you?
I would have to speak to the coordinators or the organizers of the event to find out their stance on it, because it is an event that they were running, so they must have been held aware of what's going on and provide feedback for them. In terms of the issues, we would have to see where it falls under the bylaws, if they're violating any laws. That's another issue. So, but we can't, it's a freedom of speech issue. You can't tell someone what they can and cannot do, but at the same time, the organizers of the events need to know what's going on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Fletcher, one question?
I'm just wondering, maybe didn't hear you. Were you planning to run in 2018 if you were?
Not at this time, no.
Not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Michael Call.
Okay, Michael, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, members of council. My name is Michael Cole, and I am standing to be the next caretaker councillor for Ward 44. I want all of you to remember those first 18 months you served in office. The long nights, longer weeks, trying to change the ward, the city, how it felt to give back. That's the councillor that I want to be for the people of Ward 44. Since I registered for this appointment, I've spent every spare moment not wandering the second floor of City Hall looking for votes, but in Ward 44. Perhaps that was a mistake, but I got to learn about the issues facing the next councillor of Ward 44. I was one of the few who attended the multi-tenant household community meetings in the ward. I met Jim, Calvin from Ward 44's office. I spoke to Heather Moser. I attended Rouge Days. I met with the acting superintendent in Ward 44's only police division to discuss the local resource officers in schools, local issues, and pedestrian safety. I toured the rezoning applications at the U of T campus, Scarborough, and the Collins Road application as well. I pored over Scarborough Community Council decisions from months past. Make no mistake, I live in Ward 31. I've lived there for 18 months. It says it right there in the briefing notes. What it doesn't say, however, is that my family has a 40-year history in Scarborough. I was born in Scarborough Centenary. I went to grade school and junior high school in Councillor Shan's ward, Ward 42. I went to high school in Ward 43 and Ward 44. And my family started one of the very first video stores in this city near the border of Ward 44 and Ward 42. I played hockey in Malvern, hung out at Food City and Becker's in Ward 44's border. What the briefing notes won't tell you, however, is that my parents still live in Scarborough, and I am not sorry that I live in the only semi-detached 825 square foot house that my wife and I could afford. I am not sorry that I stand before you today looking to give back to the community that has given me everything. My character, perspective, edge, and drive come from Scarborough. But there are plenty of good people from Ward 44 here today. There are plenty of qualified candidates here willing to stand for appointment. What makes me different? Well, as a certified firefighter, I have a unique perspective. Within a few months, I can work to make our housing buildings safer. I can make suggestions to make emergency services more efficient without putting paramedics on fire trucks. I'm young. I'm at 37. I'm the average age of the ward, average age of the city, but not the average age of this city council. Platitudes are nice, but votes matter. I volunteered at City Hall to help defeat Smart Center on Eastern Avenue. I stood shoulder to shoulder with Councillor Fletcher, and I've run for office twice. Not running for mayor, not running for trustee, but for this job, a council seat to serve. I'm ready to challenge developers if I need to defend our meadows and green spaces in Ward 44. And as I stand here today, I promise each and every one of you, if I'm appointed today, I will make this city safer for pedestrians and cyclists than it ever has been before. I will make my mission to change our perception of how we view transportation. Ward 44, if you're listening, watching, waiting, know that if I'm appointed today, you have my ear tomorrow. That all of the partnerships you built with the previous councillor, his staff, are renewed, and you have my ear. I will be your steward until the next election and ensure that you have the best representation possible. I will challenge Councillor Perks for attendance, challenge Councillor Peruzzo to limit his speeches to 3 minutes, and challenge the mayor if he deviates from his 2014 election promises. Thank you very much.
Thank you. One question, Councillor Karagianis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Cole, the only thing we didn't hear is...
Councillor, can you please stand?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Councillor, the only thing... sorry, Councillor. The only thing that we didn't hear is, would you be running again?
Absolutely not, no. Thank you.
So your commitment is that this is it?
Yeah. I indicated off the top that I
Right,
was
thank you.
looking for a caretaker position.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
The next speaker is Peter Sialtzis.
Okay, you have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Good morning. My name is Peter Sialtzis. I'm a local real estate lawyer, corporate commercial, and a proud resident of Scarborough East. I've spent the majority of my life working and living in and around the West Hill community. Since my grandfather purchased our family home in 1972 and opened his business on Kingston Road just west of Lawrence Avenue East. Having grown up, attended school, worked, volunteered, and now established my own law practice in and around this neighborhood, I've witnessed the growth and evolution of our community for over the past 46 years. So while our community has evolved and flourished, I've also witnessed firsthand some of the pressing issues that now concern my friends and my neighbors. While statistics may suggest that our average household income in Ward 44 exceeds the citywide average, I think this statistic would be of little comfort to the residents of certain neighborhoods within our community who face issues of affordable housing, homelessness, adequate access to health care, and social assistance. Worse is of little comfort to communities who deal with gang violence and guns on a daily basis. I live 2 blocks from Danzig Street, and I'll never forget driving down Morningside Avenue that tragic day about 3 years ago. Policing is very important to certain neighborhoods in our community, particularly. So having grown up and currently living blocks from these neighborhoods, I see the urgent and pressing need to address these concerns among our many local communities and working with neighboring councils to advance these interests in Scarborough. You'll find that I'm a strong proponent for real and sustained repair and development of our existing transit, roads, and infrastructure. We need to invest in a real and viable long-term transit solution while making our community a prosperous destination in which to do business locally. Our ward is among the easternmost areas of the city, so it becomes frustrating to many of our residents who have to watch commuters from neighboring municipalities speeding down our side streets during peak community times, cutting through school zones, a product of congested main arteries crossing over the Rouge Valley, and currently inadequate transit in the eastern end of the city. While as a temporary councillor, if appointed, I would sustain the mandate and familiarize myself with that of Mr. Moser's, of course. But I would also hope to work together with neighboring councillors in advancing the mayor's transit plan, assisting with continued emphasis on GTA subway expansion in the east, adequate parking for commuters who do choose to use that system to make it viable, together with innovative traffic flow solutions and the maintenance of safe, usable roads for those who must rely on their cars. We need to address the needs of my neighbors in that way. So while it's difficult in 5 minutes to sum up for you my entire platform or view of these various issues, I would ask that you give very serious consideration to how your decision on a candidate this morning will be received and perceived by the residents of Ward 44, my ward. With the passing of Mr. Moser, we lost a great longtime community leader and representative. So respectfully, our residents do not seek representation from those who don't live within our ward. Our interests are not best represented, they are best represented, by someone who is local. Someone who faces firsthand the challenges that we face in Ward 44, and who also appreciates that all that our diverse, beautiful neighborhoods have to offer. I plan to work for a balanced and proactive approach to cost-effective delivery of government services. Of course, I would be one of 44 councillors, but hope to work in a cooperative manner to continue to advance the agenda established by Mr. Moser's office. I'd hope to remediate our transit and congestion issues, seek responsible and effective solutions to issues such as poverty, housing, and homelessness, which have crept out into the outskirts of most of our suburbs, and responsible usage of the limited government resources, and lastly, the conservation of our ecologically sensitive areas, including the Rouge Valley, the Scarborough Bluffs, and Highland Creek areas. I'm Peter Cialtzis. I'm a proud resident of Scarborough East since 1972. Please offer me your support and your vote to be the next councillor in Ward 44, my ward, Scarborough East. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? No? Okay, thank you very much. Oh, Councillor Fletcher.
Regular question. Would you be planning to run in 2018?
Councillor Fletcher, I'll be completely honest with you. At this point, no. And that may change, and here's why. I've never done this before.
Okay.
I don't know if I would be I think I believe in what I have to offer, and if I am a very effective leader, then I absolutely will continue to offer my services. I have a law practice to sustain. I have a family that I have to meet obligations with. And like I said, I've never done this before. My intention is to do this, to continue Mr. Moser's legacy and his platform, but at the same time evaluate that over the coming months. I'm not going to rule it out, but at this time I'm probably leaning towards no.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Mohammed Shabani. No. Mohammed Shabani.
Yeah, okay. Next.
Next is Virginia Jones.
So to all the candidates, you have a copy of the speakers list. If you know you're next on the list, if you can just make your way down, it'll be greatly appreciated. Okay, Virginia, you have 5 minutes.
My name is Virginia Jones, and I apologize, I just arrived. I actually lost a family member yesterday, so I wasn't actually in the preparation for being here today. But I believe this is important, and I believe it is for a number of reasons. I was born, raised, and live in this city. I work in this city, and every day I see it not getting better, and there are things I don't like. So I have two choices. I can stand up and represent the people, or I can try and move somewhere else, and I'm not willing to do the latter. So first of all, my name is Virginia Jones. I have worked in City Hall for a number of years as an executive executive assistant for different councillors. I started after amalgamation in 1998. I worked for Bads, Balcasoon, and Brad Dogood. In between then, I left to be a manager of community services at a nonprofit organization. I also did corporate communications with Y2K and afterwards at a municipality and later on with a region. I worked for the last number of years actually as a corporate operations and analysis officer in the Provincial Emergency Operations Center. So what I'm trying to say is I bring a very diverse background to this position. What we need is somebody that has the communication skills, the ability to listen, to know what the issues are, and the ability to be able to represent the people. This isn't about continuing somebody's legacy. It's about being the watchdog for the people that are in the community and seeing they have the services they need. I am a communication professional. I have worked for the last number of years doing various things, including emergency management. In my spare time, I actually volunteer in disaster services as a lead for Red Cross in the community. And I also have sat on a number of boards, too, in the Rouge. I see what the issues are. I know there are a number of issues that are flying under the radar, including the health of the environment in that area with the ticks and the Lyme disease. There are other things as well, too. We live in a city that needs to be able to move around and can't. Every day we sit in traffic or we sit in transit and we're not getting anywhere. This isn't acceptable. In this day and age, we should be able to solve those problems. So as one of 44 people, I need to know what the issues are, I need to be able to work with everybody, and I need to be present as well, too. Look at the number of vacancies here today as people are at different places, including golf tournaments. This is important. We are representing the lives of people, people that have other things to do and are counting on us, whether they know we're acting on their behalf or not, to be able to make things work. So I do thank you for your time today. If you have any questions, I'd more than be willing to answer them. I did try reaching out to every single one of the people in this room today that are a counselor, and sadly, I got 2 responses back. Or actually 3. I missed one because of what was going on yesterday. But some of those are disturbing in themselves as well, too. So I am here. If you have any questions, please do ask me. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor Fletcher?
I think you know what my question is, and that is, would you be planning to run in 2018?
And Councillor Fletcher, I appreciate you for repeating that because I actually, when I was sitting back there, could not hear what you asked.
I'm sorry.
So no, that is not my intention at the moment. I actually ran in the last municipal by-election, 29 people running in a by-election, the 3rd one in 1 year that shouldn't take place. It's a lesson that reaffirmed what I already know about what's going on in this city. I'm here because I want to see things taking place in the meantime, not because I'm trying to continue running a long-time position. I actually believe this should be a full-time job, and I'm willing to dedicate that, but that many years afterwards, I'm not looking forward to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
The next candidate is Walayat Khan. Walayat Khan.
No, okay.
Alan Burke.
Okay, you have 5 minutes, sir.
Yes, good morning, Mayor Tory and members of Toronto Council. I have been a president of a community association for approximately 20 years, which is the East Beach Community Association, which operates in the extreme southwest corner of Scarborough. My boundary is from Victoria Park to the Hunt Club Golf Course, Kingston Road to Lake Ontario. Many councillors know me here because I've been involved in a number of issues, including the chicken factory and a few others. I guess there's a lot of similarity. You can understand because of where I operate, I'm often dealing with issues in Ward 32 because my residents very much identify as being beach residents and we're on the waterfront. There's a lot of similarities between Ward 32, 36, and 44. Ward 44 has a sewage treatment plant. It has a water treatment plant. I have a water treatment plant, R.C. Harris, in the boundaries of my community association, which is the only industrial site in the City of Toronto where we allow full public access, and I have to work with the plant manager when we do construction to minimize the impacts on residents. I have extensive knowledge of how the city works. I know the Scarborough staff because I've dealt with them extensively. For example, a number of years ago when we had emergency snow removal, I was the only neighborhood in the entire city who worked with staff to move the cars off my north-south streets so we could clear them. I have also worked behind the scenes, for example, when there was a fire at Ward and Kingston Road in Councillor Crawford's ward, and after the fact I said, I'm going to help those people because they're going to need more support. Guess who arranged to replace all the furniture of one of the ladies who was a single mom at that place and everything else after the fact? I did. I've been dealing with flooding recently, and because of my extensive knowledge, I said to myself, I can't save everything, but I'm going to save the Beaches Lions Clubhouse. And what did I do? I went to my friends in Toronto Water, said, guys, I want you to take over the sewage pumping plant in Asperger's Bay because the Parks Department isn't maintaining it appropriately. When they took it over, they said to me, Al, there are a lot of deficiencies which we fixed. And I said, thank you very much. I also made sure that the Lions got sandbags, and when the sandbags weren't delivered on the long weekend in May when I was driving to Montreal, I was on the cell phone with the parks foreman, and I got those sandbags there. I, for example, a number of years ago appeared in front of the Ontario Municipal Board on behalf of my residents when there was a variance granted for a 3-story house with a 500-square-foot deck. And they went to an OMB lawyer and said, guys, you're not going to win. They came to me and said, Al, what are we going to do? I said, guys, I'm going to act as your lawyer, and we're going to win, and I won. I'm probably one of the few people in this room who could do that. And I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not a professional planner, but I know how to do stuff. Now, specifically some of the local issues in the ward. I, for example, have looked at the big issues right now is the expansion and widening for an extra northbound lane for Port Union. I have a lot of experience in roads. I sat on the Gardner Expressway Dismantling Committee. I sat on the committee when we redid the streetcar tracks on the beach. I know a lot about roads and transportation. I have half an engineering degree in mining engineering, and I have a BCom and graduated in the top 5% of my class from Concordia University in '82. If you also look at the Highland Creek Treatment Plant, I know a lot about treatment plants. Professionally, I provide telecommunications for third-party contractors at the Asperger's Bay Sewage Treatment Plant, and I know a lot about treatment plants. I also, for example, I've been looking at the subdivision that's being planned for Highland Creek and Kingston Road. I know a lot about planning and subdivision issues. Ask Rob Hines from Planning in Scarborough. He knows my name. But also, I'm familiar with the issue about the biosolids and how we're going to deal with it at the Highland Creek Treatment Plant. I've had a look at the consultant report, and I think their initial suggestion to do incineration and then truck out the ash once a year may be the way to go, but certainly I'd listen to residents' point of view on that. I would challenge anyone to ask me any question from this councillors, and I can answer it. Challenge me. Now, as far as the big million-dollar questions, right now, because I have a business to run and I'm a top telecom person in Canada, and people like GE and General Motors rely on my expertise, I don't plan on running in the next election, but November 2018 is a long time away, so would I say never, never? No, and even Councillor Ansley once told this committee, or this council, that no, I'm not going to run, and three months later changed his mind. Anyway, finally, I would say I know waterfront issues. I'm a person who knows extensive city staff. I even know the guy who enters the trash bins on Queen Street. I speak to over 600 people a year. And I would think that I would be a good choice, and I challenge anyone to ask me questions, and a number of you know me. Thank you very much. It's Alan Burke.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you. Oh, Councillor McMahon, you have a question?
Sure. Thank you. So, Alan, thank you for coming in today. What is the membership of your East Beach Residents Association?
Right now, I think it's about 10 or 20 people, because people only tend to want to join when there's emergency issues. I've dealt with a lot of issues in the community. Whenever there's been a problem, I've been able to handle it, which is probably why every time we've had an annual meeting, which is well publicized, people have decided not to challenge me to run for the presidency of the Community Association. I deal extensively at issues, and anyone who's ever had a problem, and I'll give you an example of an issue I dealt with in your ward recently. Monday after the fireworks at Asperger's Bay, I had a woman come to me in distress saying her 23-year-old daughter was missing. I went to the last cop in the park who basically said, we just had a shooting, so long, goodbye, good luck. Now, because I'm familiar with the Canadian Coast Guard and Trenton Search and Rescue, what did I do? I called the Coast Guard and relayed a message to Trenton Search and Rescue and said, guys, I need to activate TSAR. TSAR is Toronto Search and Rescue Auxiliary Unit of the Canadian Coast Guard. So at 12 o'clock on Monday night, I was out there looking for that person, and because I had the knowledge and understood Coast Guard and Trenton protocols. When I was speaking to Trenton Search and Rescue, the guy didn't question why I was asking when I told my situation, that I had nobody to help me and I'm down at a waterfront park system. And we were all ready to move TSAR to mobilize to help find that woman, although at the last minute we got a call that she had turned up. But that's the sort of thing I do in an emergency and have the experience to be able to handle it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Kirk Cormier.
Thank you. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members of Council, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to be in front of you today to represent my application. I have submitted a professional experience brief along with my application. I will not repeat its content in my 5-minute statement, but happy to answer any related Councilor questions after. The following are additional insights into who I am, my motive, and agenda. Starting with my personal life, it is best described as recently retired with my wife, Mary. Both of us are second marriage and enjoy our growing family of in-laws and grandchildren. I'll save the boring details for questions later. What is my motivation in seeking appointment? I want to continue improving the quality of life of those I lead. I know this appointment to be the right fit, and I know council to be the right team. What do I perceive as my agenda over the next 17 months? The late Ron Mosier was elected because his constituents believed he best represented their priorities. I will honor that by focusing on his completing his unfinished agenda, working with his team. In parallel, I will relentlessly support council on their citywide initiatives and issues, acting as an escalator and not a speed bump. While carrying out those two agendas, I will add my unique experience and creativity to councils. I will share with council and improve on, with your guidance, forward-thinking solutions that I know will reduce cost while increasing staff capacity to deliver more. On a final note, if it is a condition for appointment of Ward 44 councillor not to run in the 2018 election, to mitigate the appointment incumbent advantage over other candidates, I accept the decision of council. I, however, ask you that if after my experience and my performance, and if council feels that it would be a betterment to the next council and to the constituents of Ward 44, to lift that condition through council vote before candidate registrations end. So just to clarify, if appointed, I will not run in the 2018 election unless this council allows me the opportunity to come in front of you to vote to lift that condition. I've got some time left. I want to be able to take the opportunity to say thank you to each of you, mayor, councillors, for filling this role. I believe it's not an easy role and not without sacrifices to yourselves and to your family. Thank you very much. Councillors, thank you for your time, and I look forward to any questions you might have.
Thank you. Councillor Fletcher.
Are you aware that City Council has no role in determining if someone puts their name forward? It's simply a commitment that people might make or not make when they're being interviewed for this particular position.
Thank you, Councillor Fletcher. So, as of today, I will not run, if appointed, to preserve the competitiveness of the next election.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next is Mukayo Mark Balak. Mukayo Mark Balak. The next person to speak is Jasper Gorey.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. It looks like a conservative leadership race by looking at a number of candidates sitting here today. I wonder if the list would have been any shorter if it was an election. But anyways, I'm quite relieved by listening to the councillor that there's no condition that to fill this vacancy for not running for the election. And I answer your question before you even ask me that I will be running for the councillor's position from Ward 44 because I'm a proud citizen of that council, of this ward, and I look after so many issues that are going on in that ward. First of all, I would like to pay a tribute to our fighter councillor who represented us for quite a few years, Ron Moser. He has been a fighter not only on his medical condition, but also he fought diligently with the issues that we had in our ward. The most important issue that he dealt with was bringing and preserving the Rouge Valley and transformation into a national park. And I know that Councillor Alan Bearmaker was one of the colleagues that he had a full support of, and of course of the council. My wife and I are the beneficiaries with our 2 young children who live in this ward, and we are beneficiaries of enjoying that landmark that is put in the east end of Scarborough. Madam Speaker, it is so unfortunate that our ward does not get much attention and is fair share of funds for further development. That is why I have put my name forward for nomination to represent this part of the city. Our people want swift and fair share of their funding. Mayor Tory and member of the councils, there's no doubt that the Torontonians want the best for their lives in Toronto. And they want best decisions coming out of this hall. I assure you, if selected for this position, I'll work diligently with the council members and committees to move the pending issues swiftly, whether they be public transit, Scarborough subway line, or future of Gardiner Express and its rehabilitation. Toronto needs quick and smart decisions. We cannot sleep on them for months and years. My ward and other bordering wards in the east need extended subway. Right now, that's the best time that we can do. And of course, it's going to happen maybe during the term of this council or the next. But why don't we make this one during this council while it's sitting? Other issues that have importance in our city are road closures, congestion, and air pollution. On weekends, our roads are occupied by many events, and I suggest that those events could take place in the parks, and we have to extend and develop our parks that will bring more revenue through their user fees for the events. According to Toronto Public Health, level of major pollutant in the air have become stagnant after years of decline with traffic congestions and emission. If we can deal with the emissions congestion of the city, we will be dealing with a most important health issue as well. Last but not least, next on my agenda would be Toronto Zoo. It should take, Toronto Zoo should look and feel like a world class in its all respects. A good experience for its visitors, for its employees, and its residents, which constitute over 5,000 animals. I would personally advocate for much more budget dollars for this Toronto Zoo, and the City Council will be making a grave mistake if those budgets are not increased or ended.
Can you please wrap it up? You're over 5 minutes.
Okay, at the end, I would like to thank everyone who has given me time and paid attention to what I have come here for, and appreciate every one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Shan, one question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is the same as previously. Highland Creek Heritage Festival that happens in Ward 44 had a car display that had a Confederate flag on it. And errors happened, but when I had requested information and also a formal apology, that hasn't happened. But in fact, it's referred to the next councillor who would be appointed for this ward. Can you tell me, if you were present there, what you would have done? And if you weren't present, if you were made aware of it later, what steps would you take and how would you respond to this situation? Thank you.
For that issue, I think the best people who should be looking after would have been the security and the police. They should have not allowed that kind of flag or the car, as you mentioned, in the area. And if I was the councillor, I would definitely investigate and bring those people who were responsible for this kind of act to justice.
Thank you. Councillor Pasternak, one question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You've mentioned the zoo. The zoo is currently losing $30,000 a day. How deep will you go to support it?
I would go with the recommendation of the council already made, and also the requirements for bringing it to a world-class zoo. And especially, I think the best part of those recommendations is to make the entrance of the zoo more attractive so that people can easily come in the zoo and be attracted for their attendance and their entertainment, because that's the world-class attraction for tourists around the world.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Next is William Sheehan.
Okay. So do we, well, we have a number of candidates have just attended. So we allow, do we allow the candidates to speak? Councillor Cressy?
No, as the second youngest member, Councillor, I'd like to welcome future councillors from Kensington School. Do you guys want to stand up and be recognized? If you add up all their ages combined, I believe 2 of them could represent Ward 44 East. Welcome, guys, to City Hall.
Thank you.
Oh, we have more coming.
Okay. Okay. Are we ready? Okay, Mr. Sheehan, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you for letting me distinguish myself from Ron Moser and the media's reported front runner who does not even reside in Ward 44 and promises to be another caretaker. Largely thanks to the last caretaker, which during the previous election was rejected by over 74% of the voters, Ward 44 has a lot of catching up to do. So if appointed to be its councillor, then I would not be another caretaker. I would not be Ron Moser 2.0. Instead, I would strive to accomplish at least much of the groundwork for several of the area's more important missing amenity items, subjects on which Moser plus the supposed frontrunner had been silent and MIA. Yet I say, if you are not going to at least try to do something positive, then you should not be here. In fact, that was the main impression I was hoping to make with that brief 38-page biography I submitted to you on June 12, 2017. I would, for instance, fight to get East Point Park finally opened and made safe, complete with its long overdue 1989 approved marina, family-friendly picnic area, and sports facility. In fact, I want to be able to go to tonight's East Point Park related meeting and speak with authority to the uncooperative plus dictatorial TRCA employees. I want to be able to threaten their jobs like Scarborough's hero Ken Morrish would have done. We need someone to do that. I would strive to get Port Union's waterfront trail finished. I would endeavor to get Port Union Recreation Center's long overdue expansion underway. And that raises an important question. Why would this city force taxpayers to pay $64,000 to produce a consultant's report recommending the obvious, that Port Union Recreation Center needed to be expanded, but then appoint a caretaker who predictably would not do anything about it? Why waste taxpayers' hard-earned dollars like that? The old caretaker did, yet why would you? In addition, I would fight to get 4 more boys and girls clubs like that which operated on Scarborough's Galloway Road built. Every police division should have one. I would also endeavor to resolve once and for all Toronto's waste problem along the line I described in my biography. Toronto's present recycling process costs too much and so is not providing taxpayers with good value. These reflect serious problems which need addressing now, but the so-called frontrunner has yet to stake his position on any of them. I would work to get the condo-like boards mentioned in my biography established in apartment buildings. Toronto cops should operate under an electable police commissioner who works at arm's length with council. Presently, Toronto cops are not allowed to investigate City Hall unless invited to investigate by City Hall, despite council's glaring conflict of interest. So that needs to stop. I would lobby Parks Canada to increase accessibility in the Rouge Park, which incidentally I think we should take back. Also, Ward 44's homeowners have no voice on this council. Weeks ago, Kathleen Wynne imposed an unfair 18% foreign buyers tax on Toronto's homeowners so her Liberal Party could lure votes away from the NDP. Yet there was not even as much as a peep of protest from any of you. However, like the rest of Toronto's homeowners, Ward 44's homeowners should not have to subsidize Kathleen Wynne's re-election campaign, especially with their hard-earned emergency money plus retirement nest egg. So those are a few of the major projects I would gladly take on if I had the chance. So I'm asking you to give me the chance by voting for me today. On one hand, I think I stepped on toes around here over the years as I sought to, in my opinion, fight the good fight, and so a part of me would not blame you for passing me by regarding this wonderful opportunity. On the other hand, I am asking you to take the high road and do what is best for Ward 44's residents by forgetting the past and voting for me, a former VP of the ward's oldest ratepayers association. For most of my adult life, I have dreamt about fighting for the community as a politician. As I told the clerk, I would have paid a filing fee for a fair shot at this job because I really wanted it. Moreover, despite the supposed frontrunner might be your old buddy, Ward 44 neither needs nor wants another largely out-of-touch, do-nothing caretaker. And Paula, yes, I would run in the next election. Please do not keep my area as a have-not ward. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Next is David Soknacki.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, members of council. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I'm here to ask for your support for the appointment for the councillorship in Ward 44. What I'd like to do is go over some of the points I outlined in the note that I sent to all of you. I'd like to talk a little bit about some of, I guess, what I'll call the frequently asked questions. I'd like to spend a moment about going through my background. Then finally, I'd like to ask you for your support and I'll try to keep myself to my script without varying too much. First of all, with respect to the frequently asked questions, no, I will not be standing for election for any position on council in 2018. That's firm. There's no fine print, as I mentioned in my note. Not for mayor, not for councillor, not under any circumstances. Secondly, the question that comes up most often is about the Scarborough subway. And as I've mentioned a number of times, council has already spoken on that issue. It's made a decision in a fairly firm way, and I respect that decision. Certainly, I believe in facts-based and evidence-based decision-making, but the decision's been made. I won't be raising it. I won't be bringing it up. And I think that my goal on the transit file, as on all files, will be constructive discussion and constructive rather, moving forward as a team as much as we can. I want now to go to a little bit about my background. And first of all, the issue of residency has been brought up. I want to share with you that I have lived at the same residence since about 98, 99. I lived at that same house when I was elected in that Ward 44 area, and so the electors of Ward 44 area have spoken and have supported me in representing that area. Since my stepping down from council, I've had a number of appointments that I've been pleased to serve. I mentioned briefly that I served as chair of Downsview Park and was pleased to have negotiated through council, through the OMB, and through the federal government a major secondary plan for the area. More recently, I was appointed by Mayor Tory for the Police Transformation Task Force, and that report came to your desks early this year, and I had the pleasure and the honor of, mostly the honor, of going to each of your offices one by one to ask for support for that report, which has been made the strategic plan of the Police Services Board, a decision that was made unanimously at that board. Since that time, I've been asked by the School of Public Policy with a number of other veterans, I guess, of this establishment on good governance and reforms that might happen to City Hall. And that report, I understand, is going to be released this week and will be coming to the next executive committee. So that's a little bit of background, but I do want to spend a little bit of time and ask for your support. And I do want to mention as well what has been happening over the last little while, because I think it's relevant and I'd like to put it out in as fair a way as I think I can. One of the reasons I decided to put my name out after being asked by a number of people is I said to myself, I wanted to gauge on my friends and future colleagues at council whether or not there would be support. And what I did is I called a number of councillors to say, if I put my name forward, would you be interested in working together? I'd like to think myself constructive. I'd like to think myself as working part of the team. And at one time, we had a very strong level of support. And it wasn't conditional. It wasn't on waiting for a knock on the door. It wasn't to wait to see if there was somebody else to come. There was a good and frank discussion at that time. And in fact, I did put my name down. I'm proud I've done so, and certainly have no regrets about being here. I want to say to those councillors who said they would support me, I'm going to ask for that support. I'm going to ask that they come forward and be true to their word. And I know it's tough. I was there on that side, and I know I had to make a number of decisions that were tough at the time. And I know I don't have anything to offer, anything except perhaps a set of shared principles. Because I know when each one of you comes and sits at this table, and when all of the speeches are finished and you're by yourself, you say, why did I come here? And it's to not only make the ward a better place, to make Toronto a better place, but to be true to what's important to each one.
Can you please wrap it up?
And so I ask for your support. I ask for you to be true to those principles, and I look forward to working with all of you in a very constructive manner. Thank you very much.
Questions? One question, Councillor Ainsley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you to Mr. Saknaki, could you explain, if you were appointed as the councillor for Ward 44, what your top 3 priorities would be in the ward?
I thought, Madam Speaker, they're only allowed 1 question, not 3.
One question, yes.
I know, Madam Speaker, I'll keep it brief. There's a lot of, first of all, the perspective needs to be one of quality of life for the residents. And in the development that's coming forward, because Ward 44 it doesn't have the density of some of the more central wards, there's the University of Toronto at Scarborough College is making a lot of investment. There's a plus and there's a minus to that. The plus one has to look at the strong investment that's coming forward to manage that with sensitivity. At the same time, there's a lot of angst among homeowners for the rooming houses. That's a very vibrant issue. We speak of transit, and it's not just the subway or LRT or so on. It's working with GO and it's working with Metrolinx, because it's not only getting people downtown, but people have homes and jobs and community activities nearby. So those are a couple of the top issues.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam
Councillor Shan.
Oops.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is the same. Highland Creek Heritage Festival had a car display errors happen, and there was a car with a Confederate flag attached to it.
Confederate flag.
On it. And I had sent an open letter asking for answers about how the car got there, what process was used, because it was raised by an attendee but was not taken seriously at that point of time. And since then there was a statement, but it's not a formal apology to the incident. Or I've asked about processes in which how they would be rectifying the situation. They have referred this to the new councillor who would be appointed. If you were there, what would you have done? If you were informed of it later, what would you have done? I just need some clarity on your stand, because Scarborough is a diverse community. Absolutely. And I want to know where you stand on some of these.
Absolutely. Councillor, I listened to you asking the question before and some of the earlier responses. If one has a community festival and uses community resources and public resources, there is a different standard than strictly the free expression standard. Because we are using public resources and in fact supported by the public, we do have to have a different set of standards. And those standards have to be compliant with the broader community expectations, and we have codes for that. I would expect that what's passed is passed. It may not be to your satisfaction. Going forward, I would expect that there would really need to be clarity with respect that one needs to respect the no discrimination, the respect for the various communities, and have that as a filter. With respect to the past, I believe that an apology from and rectification, practical rectification from the organizers would be appropriate.
Thank you. Councillor Karygiannis, 1 question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you to Mr. Sagnacki. If a vote was to come to this council regarding the subway extension that we're doing all over again, how would you vote? On which side? For it or against it?
Councillor, let's see. The leopard doesn't change its spots, so just so you know. I'm true to the principles that I've had. I'm also aware that there's a couple of things. If there's a lot of funding behind it already, as there is, if it's the only way for transit to come forward to Scarborough, then we have to be practical about what's here. And I've tweeted about this earlier on. So it's not to set transit back 8 to 10 years. It's to get transit built for our community and all of our communities.
Thank you. Councillor Wong Tam, 1 question.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Saknacki, you served as Budget Chief under Mayor David Miller, as well as Deputy Budget Chief under Mayor Mel Lastman. We will be, in a very short time, reviewing the city's long-term fiscal plan. We're going to be making some tough decisions about revenue tools. How would you approach that particular conversation that is forthcoming in a matter of months?
I think the overall principle I've always had is that there's numbers and then there's people and there's human beings. And that what we have, what we're part of is the best quality of life on the planet. And our goal is to make sure that we preserve that. That not only makes sure that we have an attractive place for Nobel Prize winners to come and live and work and do their work, but also for those who are more vulnerable. And I'm sorry I can't say I'm going to vote for this on this and this and this, but overall the principles remain the same. I said the same to Mayor Lassman as I've said to Mayor Miller, that I'm not shy about making the tough decisions that need to be made, but they need to be made through the filter of being a human being and preserving what we have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Next is Tom DeLuca.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Morning, Madam Speaker, City Councilors. My name is Tom DeLuca, and I'm a resident of Ward 44 and have lived there for 24 years. I live there with my wife and 3 daughters. I would like to be the councillor for Ward 44 until the residents decide whom they would like to have as their representative in the next municipal election. I would like to continue and build upon all the good work of my predecessors in making Ward 44 and the City of Toronto a great place to live, work, and to do business in. My involvement in community groups and activities has continued from the time I first became a resident of Ward 44 in 1993. Purchasing a home in the area and renovating it and making improvements to it gave me a sense of pride of ownership and made me look to ways in which I could help and improve the community in which I chose to live. My first involvement with the community began when my children started school. I volunteered at the school quite often because I worked the afternoon shift, which gave me the opportunity to do so. Working with CSAC was a chance to work with my neighbors towards a common good of improving the school life of all the children at St. Brendan's. In 2010, I ran for Catholic School Trustee in my local ward. I was asked in late 2001 if I would like to volunteer and be involved with World Youth Day 2002, which was held in Toronto. I hosted 2 pilgrims in my home and was involved in the planning of the event. I took a week off work and volunteered my time to participate in the work of helping all the visitors from around the world who attended. It was after that event that I realized how enjoyable and satisfying it is to give back to the community in which you live. I also have the pleasure of being involved with many groups within my church. I am a member of the Knights of Columbus at St. Joseph's Highland Creek Roman Catholic Church. I am also the current president of the Society of St. Vincent de Paul for this parish. I have been involved with this charitable organization for several years and have been the president for the past year. I again have the opportunity to work with my fellow parishioners to help our neighbors in need and give them assistance when required. I have worked for the provincial government for 27 years with the Ministry of Transportation at Queen's Park. I am very familiar with government and how they operate, seeing firsthand the importance of having good government to the benefit of the lives of all its citizens. There are many important issues occurring in Ward 44 which I would like to ensure move forward until the next municipal election. The widening of Port Union Road from the 401 to Lawrence Avenue is something that all the residents will benefit from and would like to see construction begin on that project. The Highland Creek Water Treatment Plant is another very important issue to all the residents of the area, and we have a solution that the residents are happy with and is the best possible solution for the future of the plant. The waterfront parks in the area and the continued development of the waterfront will allow residents from all over Toronto to enjoy our lakefront parks. The spring flooding at Rouge Beach Park has limited the ability of people in the community to utilize this park and is a concern to all the residents. Rouge Park will be a truly unique urban park which will require good management on the part of all parties involved. Ward 44 is also very fortunate to have within its borders a campus of the University of Toronto. It is something that we're all very proud of having within our community. However, due to the expansion of the campus and an increase in student population, there is also an increase in demand for student housing. It is an issue that will require a lot of community input in order to come up with a solution which everyone will be satisfied with. There are many factors which will need to be taken into consideration, and proper planning is required. The Scarborough subway is probably one of the most important issues for all the people of Scarborough and the rest of Toronto. Good transportation in and out of the area is vital to the future prosperity of all Scarborough residents. I feel that a lot of the constituents of Ward 44 are happy with the current proposal and would like to continue and expand upon it. U of T Scarborough campus should have a proper transit connection, as we see at York University. These, along with many other smaller but important issues, are what keeps the ward a vibrant and sought-after place in which to live. Good representation is vital to the continued success of this area. In closing, I would like to say that this council has been given the responsibility of choosing the right individual to help lead this city. I believe that as a resident of Ward 44, I am well suited to understand the issues that are important to my neighborhood because I encounter them every day. I am a well-known resident in the area, and I am confident that my knowledge of this community, along with my desire and willingness to serve the residents, will serve this community well.
Can you please wrap it up?
I would like to thank this council for the opportunity to make my presentation for this position. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? No? Thank you very much.
Next is David Mitchelson. David Mitchelson? No, not present. Norman Bradley? Norman Bradley?
Okay, you have Councillor McMahon and Councillor Fletcher, if you can please. Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, fellow members. My name is Norman Bradley. I retired several years ago from Bombardier Transportation, so I know a lot about transportation. In the past 3 weeks, I've gone out, I've talked to students, I've talked to store owners, companies, and seniors that are basically mostly in the houses in the area. And I'm here to get your support for this nomination.
Just one sec. Councillor Karygiannis and Councillor Kelly, please. Okay, sorry, if you could continue.
The people in the area are satisfied with the way things were run before, but there's a lot of things that they have presented to me. So when I get this position, I'm going to keep the same team in place, everything per se, and have an open door policy and adjust everything on first come, first served basis. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Next is Kevin Clark.
Okay, you have, Mr. Clark, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. And the word that you need to use today is a no-brainer. That's what this is for Toronto City Councillors. But first, let's pay respect to former Councillor Ron Moser, and let's thank his family for the sacrifice they have made in putting him up for public service. We'd like to thank the children who were present. If it was not for them, I would not have life today. We'd like to thank Councillor Fletcher, Pam McConnell, and Norm Kelly for their long-time service in government, and definitely Jim Karygiannis. We have to thank you. I am a 5-time mayoral candidate. Not like my opponent, my main opponent, who's a former mayoral candidate, but but he was also the former budget chief in the previous two establishments. So if Mr. Tory's assertion that we have so much financial woes, a lot of it can be contributed to my opponent, Mr. Saganaki. And there is no way that council can consider him above me. He ran in one election for mayor. He collected hundreds of thousands of dollars and gave tax rebates for those amounts, and then abandoned it when he thought he couldn't win. I ran for mayor 5 times. 4 of those times I was a homeless man in the city of Toronto, and I finished all 5 races campaigning with heart, soul, and the love of the child and the people of this city. I am a 9-time provincial candidate. I am a 4-time federal candidate. And I am the only man in Canadian history, June in 2014, who have simultaneously contest office for all 3 levels of government when I was the municipal candidate for mayor, the provincial candidate for member of provincial parliament Scarborough Agent Court, and the federal candidate for member of federal parliament. All these I accomplished of being one of the most well-known homeless men in the history of this city. I am portrayed in The Paper Chase, a documentary that has won so much film festival. I am mentioned with the likes of Mick Jagger, Ron Woods, and special appearance by Pope the last time he was here for Canada's Youth Summit. I am a homeless activist. I am a children's rights advocate, and I am the defender of the people's rights to proper service of government. My opponent in 2018, Mr. Tory, you have an opportunity today to determine whether you're going to seek to be just a good mayor or a great mayor. Because if you are a good mayor, and that's all you're going to be, I or someone else, possibly Mr. Layton or Miss Nunziata, who I am very good friend with her brother, will defeat you for the mayor of Toronto's job. But for you to be a great mayor, to appoint Kevin Clark to City Council today, I will address your most diverse issue of social decay. I will address the issue of Toronto community housing. I will address the issue of youth delinquency, crime, and violence. I will address those issues that are more dear to the people, and I will be a great ally to you and every single member of council, and we will work together to combat social decay in the city of Toronto. And it is a no-brainer. I have nothing against the other candidates, but the fact of the matter is, I am also one of 20 people in the province of Ontario who is today eligible to be the next Premier of Ontario, because I am the interim leader of one of the 20 registered political party in Ontario. I am also been a chief financial officer in Ontario, and I have filed successful returns.
Mr. Clark, can you wrap it up? Your
Yes,
5 minutes.
I have filed successful returns for the People's Political Party over the past 5 years.
Thank you.
I respect you all. Make the right choice today, and let's make Toronto great again.
Thank you.
God is with us.
Oh, hold on. Mr. Clark, you have questions. There are questions for you.
Well, naturally, there will be.
Councillor Karygiannis, one question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Clark, in your record of running and running and running, if you were to get appointed today, what guarantee do we have that you will not seek a re-election in Ward 44?
Well, I am the interim leader of the Ontario People's Political Party, and I am scheduled to run in Scarborough-Gilwood against the Education Minister, Miss Misty Under, for provincial parliament. If I am appointed to council today, my number one focus would be to focus on fixing Toronto community housing and dealing with the repairs, the maintenance, and the financial issues that they have. I believe that housing is the number one need for the people of the city, because if you don't have a proper home and a place to lay your head, you cannot come to work like all of you, and you cannot be a productive member. So my main focus, if appointment, would be to deal with Toronto community housing and make life better for those people living there. Will I run again? If I am appointed today, I expect to be successful in Scarborough, Gilwood, and in turn, I would not run. I would support Michael Layton or Francis Nunziata for the next mayor's job. and that's where it goes. But John, I will support John if John will address social issues, because he is a good mayor. He's just not a great mayor yet.
Okay, thank you. I will not be running for mayor. That has been confirmed. No, I just want to, Councillor Fletcher, do you have a question? Councillor Fletcher. Councillor Fletcher?
I did face his dad.
Thank you. I wasn't clear, Mr. Clark, about if you, let's say you were the councillor from today, you were appointed, would you run again in the next municipal election?
As I said, Ms. Fletcher, I am on the slate to challenge John Tory for the mayor of Toronto's job as it stands right now. But if I am put onto council and we're able to address the social issues that we need to address, then I might focus more on provincially. So I am not ruling it out, but if I am appointed and we are doing good work and you require me to bypass the next election, then I will take it to a provincial level and I will advocate for the city of Toronto on a provincial level. My focus is to make Toronto better for all its citizens.
Thank you.
Thank you for the shout out there, but Councilor Fairmaker, Councilor Davis, are part of the club of those of us who've been here for a while, Mr.
Yes, they have been, and we do acknowledge their great works, but your work does stand out. So does Mrs. so does Pam McConnell, because I know Pam is in the artist district, and Christian Tam Wham has joined her down there in Toronto Centre, and there's a lot of problems down there, and I wish to help address those issues. So I do acknowledge those who are doing good. And I think that you all have an opportunity to help make Toronto better by dealing with our social issues, and that's what I am concerned about.
Thank you.
Thank the Lord.
Okay, we have another question. Councillor Ainsley, one question?
Oh, my buddy.
Mr. Clark?
How are you, Paul? Nice
Good.
to meet you.
I know you've recently moved into Ward 43. I want to thank you for moving into Ward 43.
Yes.
Do you think, what would be your top issue in Ward 44?
My top issue, I believe, is housing. I have gone to the complex of Toronto Community Housing, and I have seen areas where a door is like this, and there's only half a door, and that half a door is rusted out, and kids are running from it because it's a rat hole. And this is in your ward, all right? No disrespect, but also when you go downstairs towards the basement, there's rat holes the size of raccoon holes. Now, I just got into a battle with Canada's second largest landlord, Capri, and I just got $500,000 worth of repairs and maintenance done in less than 2 years at 4000 Lawrence and 4010 Lawrence. And I find that I'm very effective in fixing things and getting results. So my main focus will be to fix up the people's housing, and naturally my number one is to see that there's safe playgrounds for the children to play and clean parks. And those will be my main focus: housing, playground, parks, and naturally youth delinquency. I find that I have great impact on young people who have gone astray due to the fact of my past. And I've done spent a lot of time in incarceration before I started running the political party and started making a positive life. And I would like to teach those young people that if you go out and sweat your brow, if you go out and volunteer times, and if you go out and assist others, good things will come to you. Like my good friend, my best friend, you can call him, his name is Sam Colas. You all can Google him. He's the largest property manager in Canada, and that man has done a lot. He calls me Saint Kevin, and because of him, I have been able to do great things, but not because of his money, because of his guidance. He taught me to spend money wisely, to always give love and forgiveness, and to always give respect to all. And that is what I will do as a member of City Council. I will not be there seeking my own glory. I will not be there looking to make any name for myself, because I'm already a name. I went from a homeless man to running for mayor to being a provincial party leader. I will be looking to make council work for all people in the city, and where you are busy on the financial aspects, I will focus on the social aspects, which is youth delinquency, dealing with crime, and dealing with the issue of building a positive environment for young people to grow. I am also a former grade 5 student teacher, so I am very expert in dealing with children, and the biggest thing about me is I get results. When there is for the greater good of all, I will bring results. And as a member of council, I believe, this gentleman here too, he speaks very well. I don't remember his name, I think that's Mr. Mavic. Yes, so he's a very good man. So I am here to make Toronto better. I want us to be not a tourist attraction or a film attraction. I don't want to focus on that like Mayor Tory. I want to focus on the people. I want to focus on the children. I want to focus on the parks. I want to focus on the housing. I want to focus on the poverty, focus on the youth, putting nice places for our seniors to grow old. And when we focus on that, if Mayor Tory can adapt his platform to add those to it, then he becomes a great mayor. And in 2018, then I would support him. But right now, I believe that Mayor Tory is lacking on his social end. Like the Toronto Homeless Memorial is just a couple blocks away. Mayor Tory has gone to Chicago. He's gone to India to chase tourist money, to chase filmmakers' money. But how much time has Mayor Tory went to the Toronto Homeless Memorial?
Mr. Clark, thank you. I believe you've
Yes.
answered the question. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Next is Robert McDermott.
Yes, Councillor Lane?
Yes, thank you very much. Well, I would gladly offer you my endorsement, Madam Speaker, but instead I would just perhaps ask that you remind those candidates that are speaking with us today that it's probably inappropriate to cast aspersions on other candidates that are advancing for the same position.
Thank you. Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, members of Toronto City Council. My name is Robert McDermott. I'm a member of Free Scarborough. As a candidate for Ward 44 Scarborough East Council seat, I strongly oppose the decision made by this council to appoint a candidate to this vacant seat in Scarborough. This is not democracy. Residents in Ward 44 should have the absolute right to elect their local councillor through a by-election, not dictated by Toronto politicians on who they want to fill the seat. This is just another example of amalgamation does not serve the best interests of the people living in Scarborough. The issues: de-amalgamation of Scarborough from the City of Toronto. To date, we have 17,000 signatures on a petition to de-amalgamate Scarborough from the City of Toronto, and we are vigorously pursuing this petition. We have written a letter to the Premier of Ontario requesting a referendum vote in the municipal election in 2018, and working with the government on that issue at the moment. Affordable housing. Well, we haven't built any real affordable housing in Scarborough for over 40 years. Basically what we've got is the City of Toronto catering to the big developers in downtown Toronto, and no rental accommodation has been built in Scarborough, causing a big gap in whether you want to buy or rent. There's no rental accommodation pretty well available, and so it's a very big issue for us. Better transit, well, when I say better transit, I mean better transit. We've got basically a one-stop station going to McCowan. We already have a stop at McCowan, and we have a bus terminal there as well. Spending $3.35 billion on a one-stop station is not appropriate. A 24-stop LRT would have been much more appropriate, and according to the polls done in Scarborough, residents want the LRT. So it's basically a bad decision. You'd have to look far and wide to find a city that would accept such a proposal. The transit in Scarborough is probably the worst in the City of Toronto. We need express buses in Ward 44 in rush hour periods to get people to and from their obligations. So the one-stop subway just doesn't cut it. We need a 24-stop LRT in Scarborough, and we're hoping that the council will change their mind on that decision. Improved infrastructure. Over the past 20 years, we've seen the deterioration of Scarborough roads. Roads are not repaired, our parks are not maintained, sidewalks are not repaired. So basically what's happening, all of our tax dollars are going to downtown Toronto, and we're not getting anything back for our infrastructure. So it's a big issue, and this is one of the reasons we want to leave Toronto, is to get our council back, have our own mayor and elected council, and determine our own municipal affairs. Another thing we'd like to see is an enhanced recycling program. We basically have the same program we've had since 1988 when they brought the program in. If you look at countries like Germany and Japan, they've got basically a 0% recycling program there. So we'd like to see more recycling in the city, and we'd like to see more citizen engagement in decision-making like they have in New York. They have the ward councils there where people have an opportunity to have input into the decisions that are made by the city council. Unfortunately, these issues will not be addressed. Residents in Ward 44 will not know the candidates standing for appointment, what issues they are running on. There will be no public debates. In fact, residents in Ward 44 will have absolutely no say in who represents them in the ward. This is truly sad. If I'm appointed to this seat, I will vigorously pursue the issues I have mentioned here today, including relocating my council office from Toronto City Hall to Ward 44 to provide easier access to city services for residents in Ward 44. Setting up a ward council, which has been a huge success in New York, where volunteer groups participate in the decision-making being made by the councillors. And vigorously pursuing our Free Scarborough campaign. We want our city back. We want our own mayor and elected council. We want to manage our own municipal affairs, and we want to keep our tax dollars in Scarborough.
Excuse me, can you wrap it up? You're over 5 minutes.
We want our independence. Scarborough has one option: separation from the City of Toronto. Our future depends on it. Thank you.
Councillor Karygiannis, one question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you to the Deputy. Should Scarborough successfully separate from the City of Toronto, God forbid, and if it was successful, would you run for mayor of Scarborough?
No, I wouldn't.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Mohammed Siddiqui. Mohammed Siddiqui.
Okay.
Then next is John Porter.
Okay. Mr. Porter, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Gracious, good morning. Thank you very much for having me come today. I thought for 1 minute there that I was in the Metcalf meeting, but I got a little bit confused. But I realize that's not what the issue is here today. Today is about a replacement for a man that is highly revered and who died in office, and very unfortunately. I have done a number of things, including teaching. I taught for 32 years at Sheridan College, and they have the OCUFA system of having students register and tell the government what it is they think about the course and their professors. My last class, I got 92.8% acceptance. There's always one in the class that isn't going to like me. What I would like for you to do today is to allow me to join you so that we together can create a better functioning, harder working, more objective group of people, councillors and the mayor, so that we can go forward more quickly. The original people in 1954 who conceived of this building and the Gardner and several other things had other dreams as well. And one of those dreams was going out into Lake Ontario, because other than having high-rise apartments, that's the only frontier we've got. And to those ends, we have been steadily building out the Leslie Street spit and out the Humber Park. And if you take a look on a map of the lake, you will see that this is where we're going. There are a lot of programs and ideas that were conceived of in 1953. Mr. Phillips was the first mayor of the City of Toronto who was not a member of the Orange Order. The Orange Order ran this city for many, many years. And I like to look at the diversity that we see here today. We have fantastic opinions, ideas, and concepts, but we need to get together and go out into the lake. I've done a lot of things. I've been a farmer, a race car driver, a salesman, a soldier, a Boy Scout. I've been a camp counselor, a news photographer, an aerial photographer, and a teacher. And I am the CEO and founder of the Gemini's Enterprise group of companies, which include Minders and Finders, Candyman Car and Truck Rental, New Eye Perfume, Team Legend, and John Porter Photography. I've done a lot of things, and I'd like to do one more thing for my city. I would like to join with you as a councillor and see if we can't go forward together and see if we can't complete the dreams and ideals of the people who actually started this growth. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Madam Clerk?
Hmm? Yeah. Mujib Khan. Mujib Khan.
Okay.
Next, then, is Daniel Cubelis.
Okay, thank you. You have 5 minutes.
Residents of Toronto. It is unfortunate that we are all here today to try and fill the vacancy in Ward 44 due to the passing of Councillor Moser. Whoever is successful today has very large shoes to fill for the next year and a half. Very few have the same dedication and passion Councillor Moser had for his constituents in the community. Despite infections and illnesses, Councillor Moser continued to protect the interests of those who elected him. About a month ago, I went to the information session held at Scarborough Civic Centre and was eager to file an application. However, I was not eager to just become a councillor that would fill a seat until the next election. My intention was, and is, to become a steward of Ward 44. I was inspired by the fact that each and every one of you has the power to affect 2.5 million lives for the better. You make decisions that shape our future. You continuously make our city a better place. You are stewards of the city. To be a steward of Ward 44, or any ward for that matter, you must possess 3 crucial skills: dedication, a hardworking attitude, and intelligence. Dedication is quite simple. One must always be willing to put the constituents before them. A hardworking attitude requires one to always go above and beyond what is required. Now, when I mention intelligence, it does not mean being a genius or being book smart. It means having the knowledge and intuition to understand people and to make proper ethical decisions. I believe I possess these 3 skills. Give me a task, and I assure you 2 things. I do it right, I do it well. I go above and beyond what is needed to make others' lives easier. I have volunteered for events and fundraisers to help my community. I have dedicated my career to serving others by being part of the public sector. Finally, in the email I have sent to all of you, it is clear that the experiences that I've had make me very capable to deal with many situations and people. There may only be a year left in the term, a year and a half left in the term, but I plan on utilizing that time to continue Ron Moser's work. I will continue to research and identify the most cost-effective and environmentally friendly option for replacing the biosolids incinerator at the Highland Creek treatment plant. I will not disrupt any work for the Port Union Road widening project. The project is crucial for increasing traffic flow in Ward 44. I will try to get more efficient options for public transportation in the ward. Through my own initiatives, I will make sure there are more community events, I will encourage more green jobs to come to the city, and I will encourage more companies to hold youth job fairs. In addition, my background in civil engineering gives me the skills necessary for me to do my due diligence and to ensure I get all the facts before I make a decision. I have a great deal of technical knowledge in infrastructure projects for roadworks, transportation, or water, wastewater systems. I am research-oriented and I possess critical thinking skills. Because of my engineering background, I have an obligation to protect the interests and lives of all those around me. That, for anyone here today, should be the key reason why they want to be a councillor or steward of the ward. The assurance that they are not here for themselves. They are here to serve the people of Ward 44. Although I may not be a lawyer, a business owner, or even a prior politician, I believe I am qualified to represent the ward. I come from a middle-class suburban family and understand the struggles of paying for school, trying to buy a home, and keeping up with monthly bills. I understand the stress of job searching. I've put out hundreds of resumes in the past looking for a job, to no reply. I understand the trials of youth, trying to find a place in the city to be understood, to be heard. I am a man of the people, man of Ward 44 that everyone can relate to. I can be the voice of the unheard. If you are looking for someone that will be there for everyone in Ward 44 in Toronto, someone who has the skills to ensure city works are properly conducted, someone who will use a no-nonsense, fact-based approach, someone whose only agenda is to continue Councillor Moser's work in helping to make the ward a better place, then please mark off me, Daniel Cubelis, on your ballots. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councillor Perks, one question.
Yes, thank you very much, Speaker. In the event that Council does appoint you to this job, would you make a commitment today that you wouldn't run for that same seat in the next municipal election?
Currently, I have no intention to run in the 2018 election.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next is Curtis Smith. Curtis Smith. Chris Gathel.
Thank you. You have 5 minutes.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam Speaker, and Mayor Tory, and councillors. My name's Chris Gettle, and I'm a 25-year-long resident of Scarborough, living the last 20 years in Highland Creek area of the Ward 44. I was born in Toronto, but my formative years were spent growing up in Peterborough, Ontario, because my father was transferred from Toronto to Peterborough. I moved back to Toronto in 1980, living in the Etobicoke area until my wife, a lifelong resident of Scarborough, persuaded me to move to Scarborough, where we raised our 4 children. I now share her love for Scarborough and have a deep interest in what happens in my community. I show this deep interest by becoming an active member of the Scarborough Community Renewal Organization, and I participate on the Economic Development and the Arts, Culture, Tourism, and Sports Committees with that organization. In fact, it was colleagues from the Scarborough Community Renewal Organization who suggested I should apply to become Ward 44 councillor. I'm now retired, but I spent 33 years with the Ontario government as a senior economist and policy advisor. I have 27 years of experience with the Office of Budget and Taxation of the Ministry of Finance. I was one of the tax guys, and if you want revenue tools, I know my revenue tools. My areas of expertise were the commodity and consumption taxes, but I also have a solid grasp of income taxes, both personal and corporate, and as well as wealth taxation. I also spent almost 5 years with the Ministry of Energy, where I got to know Councillor Stephen Halliday. And I worked on low-income and consumer protection files with that ministry. I also have 2 years of experience with the former Ministry of Industry, Trade and Technology and their small business group. So I have a fairly good understanding of small business. So as a career civil servant in these positions, I've developed policies for and briefed the ministers and senior executives. I understand how politicians make decisions, and I know what kind of information they need to make a qualified decision, a good decision. I also have leadership experience through my roles with the AMAPSIO union of the Ontario government. It's a union representing 13,000 of the professional management workers of Ontario. And I was elected to the chair position, first for the Ministry of Finance chapter, and then to the chair position of the Ministry of Energy. I was also elected chair to the AMAPSIO Council, which is the group of chapter chairs in the executive board that oversees AMAPSIO. And that position is much like the Speaker's role here. Therefore, this has given me a solid understanding of parliamentary procedure from this experience. I also gained, through that union experience, I also gained the knowledge and insight to be able to represent the thoughts and concerns of the people I was elected to represent. I have degrees in physics from the University of Waterloo, and my science education forms the basis of my thought process in approaching problems. I also have a degree in economics from Trent University. Here I met Harry Kitchen, who instilled in me an understanding of and a love for public finance. It was Harry who provided my recommendation to work for the Ontario Ministry of Treasury and Economics and Intergovernmental Affairs in the summer of '79, but it was my knowledge that got me a permanent position in '81. Now, while a student, I also got to work at the Peterborough Utilities Commission. And my first couple of summers were in grounds maintenance at the Peterborough Utilities Commission's Park and Zoo. So I got to know a little bit about parks and recreation and zoos and that sort of thing. But my next 4 years were spent working in the water filtration plant as a laborer. And I got to know all about water filtration plants and the water distribution system. Again, knowledge that will help me with this council. My philosophy in life is questions are a burden for others, answers a prison for oneself. And by this I mean I need to ask questions to understand the viewpoints of others and to develop a working solution to any issue. If I presume to have the answer, I'm bound to that answer and will not be able to develop a working solution which encompasses all viewpoints. Or put another way, an idea is like a piece of iron. It requires the heat of a forge and the pressure of an anvil and hammer to be turned into a useful tool. And heat and pressure applied to the idea are thoughtful questions and respectful debate. And these are the things I promise to bring to council. I fervently believe that councillors should be elected by the people they are serving. But in the interest of cost effectiveness, such as this case today, an appointment should be used should not be used, rather, to gain my name known in order to run for the next election
Can you
as an
please
incumbent.
wrap it up, sir?
And for this reason, I wish to assure Council I will not run for Council or Mayor in the following election, and in fact would offer to write a contract to that effect, allowing you to...
Thank you. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? No, thank you.
The next speaker is Jim Hart.
Thank you, Speaker. Mayor Tory, members of council, it's an honor to be given the opportunity to appear before you today and to be considered for the appointment to Councillor Ward 44. Listening to the council debate on whether to appoint the next councillor to Ward 44, I heard a number of councillors speak about the importance of a by-election because councillors are sent here by the people they represent with a clear mandate. Having worked in Councillor Moser's office for the last year, up to 2 weeks ago, I'm very much in tune with the mandate that was given to Councillor Moser by the residents of Ward 44. And if appointed, I'll deliver on that mandate. For example, during the last election campaign, Councillor Moser spoke to his residents about the importance of the Scarborough Waterfront Trail and the redevelopment of Port Union Road. Both of these initiatives were very important to the councillor and to the residents of Ward 44. And both of these initiatives have been led by me for the last year. Councillor Moser was passionate about parks, recreation, and the urban forest. Under Ron's leadership, the ward has seen tremendous improvements in our local parks and recreation facilities. As a former GM of Parks, Forestry, and Recreation, I share Ron's passion for these services and his commitment to making Ward 44 a healthy and beautiful place to live and work. During my tenure with the councillor's office, I acted on behalf of the councillor on a number of issues and ward priorities. I know the planning issues in the ward and the community concerns with these applications. I've been dealing with planning staff on these files, and I've represented Ward 44 at the public meetings. I've already built relationships with many members of the community and have dealt directly with our community associations. This appointment is for a relatively short period of time, and as you well know, getting up to speed on ward issues and key contacts takes time. I don't need that time. If I'm a successful appointee, I'll be able to hit the ground running with the existing office staff who already have strong ties with the local community. In addition to being familiar with ward issues and the councillor's mandate, I've been a resident of Ward 44 for the last 20 years. I'm very familiar with the ward, and we moved to Ward 44 because of the ward's natural beauty and the abundance of green space, much of which can be attributed to Ron Moser. His strong support for the natural environment is a passion that I share. In order to move things forward in a councillor's office, it's imperative that you have a strong understanding of City of Toronto operations and what's achievable within the context of operating, capital budgets, and staffing resources. Having worked for the city for 31 years, 25 years of which were at senior management level, I know how to move projects forward and who needs to be engaged in processes to deliver results. Those of you who know me know that as a city staff person, I delivered results. If appointed, I'll deliver results for the residents of Ward 44. During my career, I worked at senior management level in Parks, Forestry, and Recreation, municipal licensing and standards, the Deputy City Manager's Office, the City Manager's Office, the City Clerk's Office, and in addition to that, I had frontline positions in Metro Housing and the Metro Works Department. I think that my experience in 7 distinct organizational units in the City of Toronto, along with my direct experience in the Ward 44 office, augmented by the fact that I've been a ward resident for 20 years, makes me uniquely qualified for this appointment. And I can't pass up this opportunity to let you know how inspiring it was to work with Councillor Moser. Ron's determination to serve the residents of Ward 44 as his health was failing was the epitome of public service. And to Heather Moser, thank you so much for your endorsement. If I'm fortunate enough to be selected for this appointment, I'll do my best to carry on Ron's work. So in closing, I'd like to say that I do not have a personal agenda seeking this appointment. I'll not run for council in 2018 in Ward 44 or any other ward. My sole concern is to complete Ron's term and to deliver on his mandate. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay, thank you very much. I don't see a name on the screen. Okay, Councillor Shan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have the same question as to what happened at Highland Creek Heritage Festival. I know errors happen, but the type of response that I got is what's concerning me. So can you probably are aware, I don't want to go through the...
No, I'm fully aware of it, Councillor.
So if you can let me know what would your response be in that?
I was actually at the festival, looked at all the cars, didn't notice it myself, unfortunately, but I've dealt with those kinds of issues as City of Toronto senior staff person on a number of occasions. I would contact the city staff that would assist me in that regard. We would deal with the local group, and we would ensure that things like that are brought to their attention. They understand appropriate policies, procedures, and what's offensive, and that won't happen again.
Thank you.
Okay. The next speaker is Corneliu Chizu.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, councillors, Your Worship, Madam Speaker, bonjour à tous. I am Corneliu Chizu, and thank you for the opportunity to address you. I am here seeking your support for the appointment as a councillor for Ward 44 in Scarborough, and I hope that my qualifications and experience will be considered in your decision. I have lived in the ward for more than 30 years. I am a professional engineer with a Master of Engineering degree from the University of Toronto and also a military engineer. I have been involved in legislative processes at the national and professional level and infrastructure projects both civilian and military. I served as Canadian military engineer officer in peacekeeping in Bosnia-Herzegovina in 2004 and in combat operation in Kandahar, Afghanistan 2007. I retired from active service in 2009. I was an engineering project manager with Genivar WSP until 2011, when I was elected in the Parliament of Canada in the riding of Pickering-Scarborough East. As MP for Pickering-Scarborough East, my constituency covered approximately 85% of Ward 44. I was very active in the constituency office, meeting with many constituents, resolving many of their issues. During my tenure in Parliament till 2015, I collaborated closely with federal, provincial, and municipal representatives, such as MPP Tracy McCharles and the late Ron Moser, on projects that served the ward. I was also in constant contact with the major community association and communities in the ward. Among my contributions, I mentioned the completion of the legislation establishing Rouge Urban National Park, with significant financial aid from the federal government, the completion of the waterfront trail from the Rouge Hill GO Station to Rouge Beach, the aquatic center at UTSC, which received a substantial federal contribution, as well as infrastructure building at Centennial College and the UTSC campuses. Smaller projects were related to funding for seniors' activities under the New Horizon program and other social-oriented activities of the community at large. You are probably wondering why I would seek this appointment. I strongly believe that Ward 44 and Scarborough as a whole is underserved in infrastructure, community services, and transportation. The ratio of infrastructure between West and East Toronto is about 10:1. In order to create jobs in Scarborough, we need to attract high technology content businesses. For this to happen, it is important to improve the transportation system in Scarborough, connected it solidly with the GTA, and especially with the region of Durham. I remember in 2012, a discussion with then Councillor Karen Steens, who was head of the Toronto Transit Commission, in which I was seeking integration between the Durham Region Transportation System and the TTC. At that time, the only connection between Toronto and Durham Region was provided by the GO system, with no integration between the municipal transportation systems. We have made some progress since. The TTC and the Durham Region Transportation have arrived at a provisional agreement which needs to be improved. This is particularly important for Scarborough youth attending the UTSC, Centennial College, UIT, and Durham College in Oshawa. Improving transportation to the Metro Zoo and the Rouge Park would also be in order. From my experiences as a professional engineer, a military engineer, a project manager, and a federal politician, I have learned that if you don't want to do a project, or take responsibility for it, you will commission study after study. These studies must stop at some time for the good of the community and for the efficient use of taxpayer money. At this time, we need to stop planning eternally for the good of Toronto. We need to execute plans and quickly. Otherwise, they are of no value to the community we serve at all levels. I have also learned that all three levels of government need to work together for the successful completion of projects in the community. During my tenure in Parliament, I achieved such cooperation in the riding indifferent of political affiliations. Thank you for your consideration, and I hope to have your support. I am ready to take questions.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just for members of council, one of the timers is not, clock is not working properly, so I'm just looking that one and the one on my desk, okay? So there seems to be a problem with the timer. Are there any questions? No? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
The next speaker is Dominic Cubelis.
No?
Dominic Cubelis. Not here. Followed by Axel Kokon.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Speaker, Mr. Mayor, councilors. My name is Axel Kokon. Probably you would like to know why I want to be a member of this City Council and representation from Ward 44. I had two philosophies in my life. One is, I am from the people to work for the people. The second one is, nobody is better than other if you don't make more than other. At back home, I make part of my life those philosophies in combination with my work as a journalist. When I moved to Canada almost 25 years ago, I brought with me those philosophies. First of all, being part of the community organizations and being an active member of our society. First in Windsor, and then after in Toronto, where I moved more than 20 years ago, making Ward 44 one of my homes. Also, I have had participation in politics in the past, in federal and municipal elections. The reason why I have those political participations is because, first of all, I want to learn how the Canadian system works in order to respond to the people. And the second one is a civic participation in order to be an example for the community members in order to participate in politics in trying to be part of the solution of the problems. My most recent civics or community participation were in 2000 being a volunteer during the visit Pope John Paul II made to Toronto in year 2000. And the second one was last year during being a volunteer during the Panamanian Games in our city in Toronto. I remember almost 15 years ago having a conversation with Councillor Cesar Palacio. And he told me at that time, outside people get more of the money we have here in the council. And after 15 years, I see Mr. Palacios is still here. Most of you are still here after being re-elected many times. And the reason is because at the end you understand money is not enough when you are doing for the people the best thing you have to do. However, in the past, many members of the council have been resigned to this position here in order to go looking for more money. That's fine. Everything get wherever one wants. I have here, 2 weeks ago, I sent a letter to the Minister of Transportation, Mr. Luca, bringing to him a concern as a member of our society, why the city of Toronto has become so dangerous for people, especially for pedestrians. Every day we receive news about pedestrians being struck by irresponsible drivers. And this letter I wrote to Mr. De Duca, excuse me. I asked him to stop that traffic regulation which make to the drivers to compete with pedestrians in order to see who is first in the right to cross the street first. And I want to take advantage of this position from here in order to make a call to to the Minister of Transportation. Mr. De Duca, please stop that regulation, which is provoking so many deaths so far. As a member of our community in Toronto, I want to see pedestrians, even children, being struck because our city has become unsafe. Councillors, if you think I can be the councillor in representation of Ward 44, my name is Axel Cocon, and I will appreciate your support. Basically, that's what I have to say, Mrs. Speaker.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Next is Molly Brown.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, everybody. I'm here to throw my hat in the ring. What I bring to the table is innovation, a new way of thinking, a change of thought. I was raised by my grandfather and my father. I spent time in foster care. I looked after my grandfather for the last 12 years of his life. I've been a recipient of more Toronto services than somebody who would have been on the council of any of these services, so I have a unique little perspective to bring to the table. I work for a winery and brewery and distillery currently. I've been forced to think outside of the box, and due to being in foster care, I can stretch a penny into a dollar more often than not. From being here today, though, I would hope that the council does vote for Jim Hart. Wow, he seems to be a great candidate, and I won't waste any more of your time. Take care, have a great day. Does anybody have questions?
Thank you. Do we have any questions? No, thank you very much.
The next speaker is James Borland.
James, you have 5 minutes.
Hello, and thank you for your time. I'm honored to have this privilege to put my name forward. I think you all have my resume, and I hope you've had a chance to look at it, but I did want to say a couple of further words on myself and my background. I'm perhaps a bit of a rare breed in that I do enjoy committee work, which I think is a large part of the responsibility here. I've served as a volunteer on several professional organizations in the past, and that's a part of the work that I've enjoyed. I'm good at consensus building. I am able to read voluminous materials, some of it highly technical, and absorb that and digest it. I think these are important abilities to do for this job. I have a financial background and my role with the public companies, familiar with governance issues. The reason I want to put my name forward is because, first of all, I don't believe in, I don't seek any sort of drama in the position. I don't have any axes to grind with the mayor or with any councillors. I'm not a former city employee with any sort of lingering connections, that type of thing. I come at it from a non-dogmatic approach to any of these issues,
and would take the time to consider all of the facts before making any of these decisions. So I really just want to say that if I was appointed, I would act diligently, devote the time necessary for the job, fulfill the duties for Ward 44. In short, I bring to the job good judgment and experience, financial literacy, and a desire to work for civic responsibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have questions? Councillor Perks.
Thank you. Would you be willing to make a commitment that should this council appoint you to fill in, that you won't run for office again?
Well, what's the expression? I don't even buy green bananas. I don't think, I haven't considered that, so no, I don't.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next speaker is Warwick Russell.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Happy Canada 150th birthday to everyone. I am appearing before you because I believe I have the skills, knowledge, competency, temperament, and experience to effectively undertake the duties of councillor for Ward 44. I have been an active resident of Scarborough for over 33 years, and I've been involved in both public and private service throughout the City of Toronto. Ward 44, in my opinion, is a beautiful area with great potentials, and I believe I have ideas which will permit me to contribute to the growth and development of the ward, in addition to the work done by Councillor Moser. I want to quickly outline 3 of these areas that I believe that is needed in the ward. The marketing of the area's resources, the zoo, the Rouge Park area, the Olympic pool, the motels which should become good hotels, and the educational facilities. We need to set a tourism hub for the area that encourages the millions of families who visit the zoo to spend additional time in the area, thereby contributing to the local economy and to the city. Security. Scarborough Police, in a report of March 3rd, 2017, stated there was an increase of over 43% in residential and commercial break-ins in the previous 2 months in Scarborough, including this area in Scarborough. There needs to be a broader discussion with the police, the public, business, the educational institutions, the city, and other stakeholders to seek solutions without pointing fingers. Community social and economic conditions are key for the stability of the area. This must be recognized as such and engage stakeholders in broader discussions. Encourage the colleges and university to build facilities for student housing, have proper watershed management, proper programs for young people and seniors, and effective transportation aimed at improving the area for all of its residents. For the subway issue, I say build now and do the adjustments later. It is not enough to attempt to throw money at the problems, and so these I have identified as homework for the person coming into office for the year. Or it is not sufficient to do vague promises and not be able to go through them. You have a list of my qualifications, including extensive experience in the city. I have to take a leave of absence from the Committee of Adjustment, Toronto East York, to be able to be here today, so I'm on leave of absence now. But I served in Scarborough for 4 years in the Committee of Adjustment in Scarborough, looking at all the planning issues and understanding the development and the needs for the areas. And so it is my hope that as a councillor for the next year, to be just a gatekeeper I have no interest in to be a permanent councillor. I have run for several years, several times, and you see it on my resume. As one who has impressive qualifications and experience, and who is a professional mediator, I possess the skill to work for a win-win solution for the area and the city, and accordingly, I ask for your support to be appointed as a councillor for Ward 44. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? No? Okay, thank
No.
you.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Fletcher has a question.
Good morning, afternoon, morning. Maybe you said it, but I didn't hear it. Would you be planning to run, should we appoint you, Mr. Russell, would you be planning to run as a councillor in the 18 election?
Madam Fletcher, as I see this is a gatekeeper's position. I have no intention of running for Ward 44. In fact, when I ran previously in Ward 35, and when it came to the time when I decided, well, I was not going to run anymore, I endorsed our present candidate from Ward 35, so I know what my obligations are.
Oh,
I won't be running at all.
I'm sorry.
I won't be running at all, Madam Fletcher.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Councillor Shan, one question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is about the Highland Creek Heritage Festival. There was a Confederate flag on a car, and I wanted to know what your response, I hope you were here earlier, so I don't want to repeat the question, but I would like to know what your response would be.
One of the problems we have very vague policies about these things happening in the city, and I would suspect that having seen what happened with what took place in that neighborhood that day, that the city would have firm policies about what is acceptable, and therefore at the same time to use those policies to put proper investigative methods into place, and if necessary, it's time for us to stop the sweet talk about those issues and to move forward. If necessary, put the necessary punishment issues into place, whether or not they're going to be allowed to do it in the future, or what activity they will do to amend their deficiency.
Okay, thank you.
The next speaker is Samim Mohammed.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Madam Speaker, Mayor, Member of City Council, and resident of Ward 44, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to stand in front of you and address to be selected. I am Samim Mohammed, a professional engineer, entrepreneur, investor, real estate broker and developer, and philanthropist. In 1988, I moved to Toronto with no English. I learned the language and completed my secondary school education from Milliken Mill High School. In 1992, I was accepted in engineering program at University of Waterloo. I later completed my degree in 1998. During this period, I took a year off and worked and sponsored my wife, and she's a doctor who is practicing in Scarborough. As for my family life, I got married to Dr. Rubia Muhammad in 1992 and has 2 kids, Zaim and Zahra Muhammad. One of my son is now going to University of Waterloo. I worked for 5 years in engineering in aerospace and automotive manufacturing industry. Later, I decided to career in real estate and development, a career choice that's blossomed into chain of companies in last 10 years. I am a founder of Century 20 Innovative Realty, Ingenious Group of Company, Clinica Medical Center, Showtime Bistro, and Amana Capital Inc. I am now with industry expert with over 15 years of combined experience in engineering and real estate brokerage and development. Century 20 Innovative Realty real estate brokerage in Canada with 4 offices in progress. I employ over 265 sales professionals working within the Greater Toronto area. Engineers Group of Company is a parent company overseeing operation of engineers construction, engineers development, and investment. I am a community leader and involved in a number of community activities. I recently received 20 years service award from a local community organization. I am also president of Ceylan Muslim Foundation, vice president of Sri Lanka Muslim Association of Ontario, and many other organizations. In addition, I sit on the advisory board of many organizations, particularly Canadian Tamil Chamber of Commerce. I also started Snap Start membership program for children in Melbourne and financed as well. I'm running to serve people of Ward 44 and Scarborough East. Scarborough East is underserved and long overdue and need to be uplifted. I know a lot of people praise Ron Moser. I would like to praise him as a late, but I am not happy about the last few years, particularly last few months. If you are, or if I incapable of doing a job, I would resign and give it to somebody to serve that ward. But I still respect his service. He did a wonderful job for the last several decades. I appreciate and I applaud for all his work. By becoming a city councillor, I'm cutting my paycheck by 1/5, if not 1/10, to serve the people of Ward 44. I want to change livelihood and condition and circumstances of the people and empower them. I'm heavily involved in community work. I think Councillor Shan well aware of it. By the way, I am organizing a Syrian refugees get-together on July 30th. It's coming month. I would like to invite all of you to come to this event, which is expected 800 to 1,000 people. I didn't contact any one of you because I didn't want to influence any one of you to select me. If you can select me on a merit, I would be appreciated.
Can you please wrap it up?
Yes. I have the education, knowledge, and experience to be Ward 44 councillor. I'll work with all of you to fight for any discrimination, including Islamophobia. Councillor has a room for one more brown person of Muslim origin. I know you shouldn't be selecting a councillor based on race. So,
Thank you.
but the person has outstanding qualifications.
Thank you. Please try to keep to the 5 minutes. Councillor Shan, you have a question.
I have a question, sorry.
You have a question.
Sorry, I have a question about the same incident at Highland Creek Community Festival. A Confederate flag symbol was found and community members were offended by it. How would you deal with a situation like this? What would your response be?
I would not tolerate any kind of indiscrimination to any community, particularly this kind of thing. I would work with the law enforcement to find out what went wrong and work with the organizers. It would not happen again in the future and address that through law enforcement.
Thank you. Councillor Fletcher, you have a question?
Yes, I may have missed you saying that, but did I hear? I'll just ask it. If we were to select you as the councillor, would you run in the 2018 municipal election in that seat?
Yeah, it's depend on. I'm not ruling out. I will be bringing some initiative. If I can finish it and wrap it up, this initiative within the next 18 months, I wouldn't be running. If that need to be continued, I will be considering. And also, if people like to be run, I would be doing some kind of a canvassing to see whether they like my service. If not, I will be going back to my business. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Roger Francis.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mayor Tory, Madam Speaker, Toronto City Councillors and City staff, members of the Moser family and office staff, and all of the candidates vying for appointment as Councillor of Ward 44 until the end of the term in 17 months. Thank you very much for this opportunity to be before you here today. Earlier this morning, while a few of us were getting introduced and wishing each other well and wishing each other good luck, I became rather appreciative of the love and the passion that a number of people, a number of the candidates have for the city, and I'm very pleased to be with this group of people speaking to you today. I share in this passion. I feel that this is a special opportunity for all of us to advance the trajectory of Ward 44 as a contributing partner to the landscape of the City of Toronto. I feel that I am particularly well suited for the role, as I am not just someone in the ward, I am someone of the ward. I went to school there, I've worked there for 15 years, and my wife and I chose this ward in particular years ago, 13 years ago this month, to live and start our family. This is home, and as such, I want to care for it. I want to ensure that it's safe and well maintained, and make sure that all the people residing there are heard and certainly represented. I worked at the university campus in Ward 44 for nearly 14 years as the Director of Arts and Science Cooperative Education. I spent many years building relationships with industry and community for the youth advancement and success. While at the university, I participated in a number of committees and advisory groups. My role in university governance over a span of 10 years, particularly when I served as chair of the Planning and Budget Committee, introduced me to the rooming house situation in Ward 44 and the role that the university plays in this off-campus housing dynamic. Incidentally, this multi-tenant housing situation also impacts Councillor Ainsley's and Councillor Shan's wards of 43 and 42. I would hope to observe lessons from things like Councillor Matlow's leadership with the Tenants Issue Committee regarding the safety and conditions of renters. Through the multi-tenant housing review, there are efforts to address this issue, and I would look forward to partnering with the university in pursuit of a solution. Currently, I serve as president of the Scarborough Business Association. We're a grassroots volunteer organization, and we are focused on the prosperity of the Scarborough business environment. Now, fortunately, through the Canada Summer Jobs Program, we were able to hire 3 summer students, 3 local students. I'm currently supervising these students, and also with respect to what they're learning, the perspective has been enriched through data and input from Councillor Thompson's office, from the Ministry of Economic Development and Growth, and industry-leading ambassadors. We have also been inspired by what is happening in Councillor Nunziata's Ward 11 with the Mount Dennis and Weston Village BIAs. What we are learning supports what we have encountered as we've met these business people. In most of Scarborough businesses, they are made up of smaller entities, between 1 and 5 people. These businesses are citizens. They're voters, they're soccer coaches. They are people, hardworking individuals and families who are a significant part of our city's economic development engine. Transit and transportation, of course, is of key interest throughout the city, and I'm encouraged that the City of Toronto has initiated a transportation master plan, taking a closer look and further developing Highland Creek as a multi-use community. I think with respect to getting a hold on the local issues, it's going to be important to connect this and make sure it's related to the larger city plan. I approach this as an opportunity to focus on getting done what is possible right now and stewarding the longer-term interests of the ward, its people, and the city. I do not plan to run in the following 2018 election. I am eager to get to work immediately for Ward 44. In this capacity to serve the city and the people, I would also look forward to opportunities where we can collaborate and work together. Thank you, all of you, for your time.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Fletcher? Yeah, I answered it. Oh, okay. Councillor Shan, question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's the same question if you wanted to answer it.
Thank you, Councillor Shan. That was a really interesting situation. I was at the festival. I was there with my 3 younger kids, and so we were stuck at the ice cream truck, and I didn't get around to seeing the car, but I've certainly read of the issue thereafter. It seemed that there was a car in which someone was very proud of, and they tried to make it look like a replica Dukes of Hazzard car. And I wouldn't have been sure if that person realized what impact that car or the flags that were displayed on the car would have had on the community. Certainly, I don't know if that person would have realized the impact it would have had on the person who was really affected by that. With respect to what to do, I think we have to examine, like, is this a behavior thing? What was the intent behind it? Public safety is of utmost importance. And is an apology due? Possibly, but I certainly think that action needed to be taken to understand these things. What was the intent behind that, and what do we then do as stewards of community? I think security came in a little bit later, but a lot had happened. This person was very upset in front of children as well. Maybe increase security, just to make sure that everyone's having a really positive experience at these types of events. But certainly, it's an opportunity for us to learn from, and I hope that moving forward, we take a careful and caring approach to what to do in these types of circumstances. I appreciate the question. It's very important, but I certainly don't know what the intent was behind that person displaying the flags on that car.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll recess to 2 o'clock.